So I just finished playing my first playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy. It took me about 35 hours and I was taking my sweet time with it, Hufflepuff all the way. And I just gotta say, God damn! Harry Potter fans, we're eating well, all right, for the next little while. We're eating pretty well. And, like, if they start hitting us with some DLC, apparently there's an event happening soon where they're giving away, like, some, like, minor DLC stuff. But if they give us some proper DLC missions, like, we can't ask for much more than this. So let me ask for more than this. Just about everything I wanted was here. And it was here in, like, full force. The combat, which was like, I was fighting people in the comments for the longest time over the combat. Everyone just immediately wrote it off. The combat here is like a 3-course meal. It is fantastic. The world is just filled with so much stuff going on. I barely teleport in this game. I just wanted to fly everywhere so I could see all the stuff going on. Hogwarts alone, exploring that place, was worth the $100 buy-in. Detail, the design, the layout, the Easter eggs, the collectibles, every aspect of this game was firing on all cylinders. The sound design too was on a whole other level. Rarely do I play a game that deserves the title of AAA. The last game I played that actually deserved that was Elden Ring. On console, like a solid 8 out of 10. On PC, max settings, it's an easy 9 out of 10. But, here's the thing, when I said that score, when I gave those scores, I was actually deceiving you. I'm sorry to have cast this web of illusion around you. Get those spiders in the game. Fuck. Yeah, so those scores are true. That is my true, like, feelings of the game. The game is incredible. It is on a whole other level. But I do have some rather big issues with the game, and I just don't know what's going to really happen next. I'm really confused. I will say while this game has just about everything I could want in this, I'm really sad about the missed opportunities. And it kind of comes back to this. Now, this is a hashtag unpopular opinion, hashtag cancel me on Twitter. I don't like open world games. I think they have diminishing returns and are kind of a blight in the gaming industry. The reliance on a very old, very outdated, very meh style of gameplay and the amount we have to see it in every damn game. And like, yes, exploring the open world, fantastic, one of the best parts of this game, but it cost a lot. Let me get into it. I think the core of my issue with Hogwarts Legacy is the fact that it falls pretty flat in the story department. Now, in comparison to 99% of open world games out there, the story slaps pretty hard. It does a fantastic job and never slogs or drags, but compared to its source material, this ain't it, Chief. I think it comes down to the fact that, for me, open world games have always been a bit of a diminishing return. Designers compromise so much at the altar of freedom that they compromise a lot of core story elements and story structure that really didn't need to be compromised if you just handle your open world differently. Now, to kind of explain some of this, when I first played Breath of the Wild, I really didn't like it. And at the time, like, that was scandalous. I couldn't talk to anyone about the fact I didn't like that game that much. It's now, opinions of it have changed and are kind of growing, and there's a bit more discourse around it. For me, the open world was, yes, fun, it was great, it was all that, but they sacrificed so much of the core Zelda concepts and kind of trademarks and the main functions of a Zelda game. They offered that up at, once again, the altar of freedom. And for me, it's diminishing returns. So let me also explain my relationship with the Harry Potter books. For me, Harry Potter was always about the characters and the moment-to-moment events. I love those books because of how grounded you became in the reality of their day-to-day lives. The monotony and the fun, the core mysteries kept you engaged, but Ron and Hermione's latest argument kept you entertained. For me, Harry Potter is all about those moments. We know the ones. Every time the trio is sitting around the common room fireplace, a night before a Quidditch game, and they're kind of devouring the latest bits of information they've gotten from Hagrid or someone else about the core mystery. It's those moments, that first time going into the Forbidden Forest, the stuff with Norbert sneaking out for the umpteenth time, Harry getting his leg stuck in the vanishing step and he's got teachers on either side of him. Those were the moments that made Harry Potter for me. Yes, it's got the big overarching plot and it's got all the stuff with Voldemort and all that, blah, 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 blah. It was those moments that meant the most. And it's why the 7th book, I've returned to that book maybe once. It doesn't have any of the kind of hallmarks of the stuff that I loved Harry Potter for, because you're not Hogwarts. But what that really came down to is I cared most about the characters, their interactions, their moment-to-moment concerns, fears, worries, all that type of stuff. The characters really hit. Hogwarts Legacy doesn't have these moments. At all. It just doesn't. You barely even have any relationships in this game. Outside of like Poppy, her and Omnis's friendships are the only ones that come even remotely close to actually feeling like either party in this is interested in the other person outside of achieving their current goal. There are no discussing the next step of the investigation with your little bands of friends in the common room. No terrifying first visit into the Forbidden Forest where the darkness looms, you hear the distant sounds of a howl, and you enter hands shaking on your lantern as you go. There's none of that. For the simple reason that Hogwarts Legacy goes too big, too fast on its wider plot, but also it decided its full focus would be open world exploration first, which means you can't have a big moment of entering a new place because, well, you've already been there 2 hours ago to collect a bunch of mushrooms for some side quest. You can't have a core friendship group that work together to solve mysteries or even just bond because the player needs to have the freedom of choice, freedom of exploration, freedom of time, all of this. Just about every core aspect of Hogwarts Legacy that needed to draw on the books has been compromised at the altar of freedom. And to me, personally, I think that was a terrible idea. Now, you can't argue with the results. The results are fantastic. People love the exploration, people love the open world, all that, blah, 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 blah. But, as you see with so many of these open world games, 2, 3, 4 years on, all that type of stuff just feels dated compared to modern stuff. And if you don't have other stuff to fall back on, you've just got a dated open world game with a Harry Potter skin. Yeah, it's amazing now. We all love it now. But that's the stuff that gets dated. A great story, compelling characters, and weaving that into the open world, that's the stuff that creates a classic. And I'm kind of concerned that I don't really see that here. It's the reason I say that open world games have diminishing returns. Yes, open world exploration of Hogwarts and the regions around it is incredible and one of the best parts of the game. But the more you analyze the impacts it has on any form of structure the story can have, I believe it is just diminishing in its returns. Yes, it's the best part of the game, but that's kind of because it dragged every other aspect of the game down in order to fit its current format. For instance, outside of 2 sneaking missions, Hogwarts seems to now be devoid of house rules around students being up late. There is no moment like in the first book where the gang are discovered by Professor McGonagall and lose their house a heap of points. It hits you in the gut, and the game can't have moments like that. Why? Well, due to its open world and day-night cycle. Diminishing returns. Yes, it's great, but to me, it costs too much in its current state. You can't have moments like sneaking out to visit Hagrid or to move Norbert once again, because of the structure of the freedom in this game. Hogwarts as a concept has no stakes. Diminishing returns. Because you need the freedom to be able to choose which stories you progress and which you ignore, just about every character is now a B-tier character at best. Outside of Professor Fig, no stories progress the main plot. Why? Because we need the freedom to choose when to do them. Diminishing returns. Exploration of Hogwarts 2 takes a hit. Oh, so this location I've already been to and killed all the enemies at, oh, it's now an important location for the story. Well, I've already seen it and stolen the treasure from it, so yeah. Diminishing returns. These issues could have been avoided if they simply slowed loosening the reins on you around how much you explored in the open world. Kept you out of some areas and overall was a bit more linear for the first 10 hours or so. But people would hate that, so instead we got a beautiful open world that lacks most of the feel the books gave us, because these locations were built around moments. Moments that the game is incapable of giving us. I think there were probably ways we could have gotten around these issues too. I don't think just throwing up invisible walls in the face of everyone who wants to go somewhere slightly off the beaten track in the first half of the game is the answer, but simply create reasons to discourage it. Have a dragon fly over the Forbidden Forest every now and again, or knock you off your broom if you try and fly over it too early in the game. Make the poachers a real threat till you level up, keeping the core plot and side quest within Hogwarts for the first while, and keep the typical Hogwarts rules of no going out at night, so your exploration 50% of the time is masked in investigation and mystery and having to sneak around. Having to dart around the corridors, avoiding teachers and prefects. None of these are perfect examples, or maybe even good, but there are ways to avoid just having walls stopping players. The next issue of the game is going too big too quickly. Like, can we just point out that you're at Hogwarts for like 10 minutes and you are now on your first visit to Hogsmeade? Firstly, weird. Why isn't it saved for a bit of a bigger moment? I'm more than happy exploring Hogwarts. Why do you immediately need to play the trump card that is Hogsmeade? But anyway, you enter the town and are immediately fighting a troll that smashes a building, and you and your friend are just, you do it together. Like, straight away, the game goes from 1 to 11. Now, yes, you had the super action-packed intro, but that's there as a hook. I see no real problem with that, outside of problems I'll get into later. And yes, in the first book, you have the whole stuff with the troll, but that's like half comedy, half horror, like them just bumbling their way through it. And it's a later point in the book as well. It's not chapter 2. It's stuff like that. And also, like, it's a bit different knocking a troll out with its own, like, club than just blasting it with your shotgun wand. The game has this overall feel of wanting to get past all that early stuff and get you right into the action. Doesn't matter how that wreaks havoc to the tone and structure of everything going on. You're battling goblins and statues before you've had your first lesson at Hogwarts. It's like the writers wanted to be both the first book and the 7th book at the same time. Especially with a villain like Ranrock, it's just too big too early, and that gets me onto my next point. I know not many people were really expecting this game to do well. It was kind of this will it won't it moment with everything that was going on Twitter and all that, the amount of people that hated it, the amount of people in support of it. It was like, this is either going to explode or it's like gonna crash. The last few cinematic forays of this series have struggled. There was the vocal social media type stuff that was going on, and it was just trying to tear the game down. And all in all, the chances of this game flopping were very high. So I don't blame them for it, but I really feel like this should have been the final part in like a 3-game trilogy. A trilogy of games building up to the Goblin Rebellion, not starting with it. Because of how well it's done, we'll definitely get DLC and sequels, but once again, it's too big too soon. I feel like the first game should have been something like Hogwarts Mysteries or whatever. Ignore the iOS game. Something more intimate, more character-focused, with those big moments, more heavily scripted, meeting the cast that you'll spend the next few games with, not giving you too much of the wider world, but instead more have like Quidditch to replace the vastness of the open world, have this mystery revolving around why you were let in as a 5th year, have that be the mystery you solve your friends, have Rookwood being the main villain, and really dive deep into Ominous and Sebastian's story. Then Hogwarts 2, Electric Boogaloo. Try Wizard Tournament. More mystery, whispers of a goblin rebellion, learn more about the Keepers, your first whispers about Ranrock. Hogwarts Legacy, the final part, fight Ranrock, basically the game as it is now. Huge, entire focus around exploration. You get the open world immediately because you've had these other 2 games that have slowly built on the open world, and you get your spells straight out, and this is when you can start using your the unforgivable curses and all that type of stuff. Like, I don't know, I feel like that kind of just speaks for itself. That just, like, works. This is a fantastic end point to a larger tale about the Goblin Rebellion. But really, it needed another game to, at least one other game, to really build it up. There are no stakes, no feelings of danger. Your guy arrives at school and he's just a god. He's more powerful than any character we've ever seen in Harry Potter. This guy could go toe-to-toe with Dumbledore as a 5th year. Ranrock has no personality, his desires for his people are never developed. The closest you get is with Ranrock's brother. He is the most 2D villain ever, and so is Rookwood. They give him, like, nothing. He has, like, 3 scenes. For something as important as the Goblin Rebellion, one of the core, like, moments in the Harry Potter lore, this is really underbaked. And so much of that comes from this off-kilter tone. The game is both trying to be Book 1 and Book 7. It's trying to be big and epic, while also teaching you Stupefy. It went too big, too early. It's really tricky to talk about this game because on one hand, it's literally everything we've been waiting for. It's the fulfillment of everything we've wanted for a Harry Potter game. The combat is amazing. The exploration of Hogwarts and the grounds is fabulous. And the moments it does have, like flying over the lake and seeing the giant squid, those moments, those just, like, if we could have just had more of those. The times we do the sneaking missions, more of those. It's just like, it's got all these amazing building blocks. I know to some people, just exploring Hogwarts and flying around your broom is enough. And I get that. But it's not enough. It's not enough when the game is so close to being so much more. But it compromised on every single one of those things just for this bit. Yes, that's the best bit of this game. But it's because it dragged everything else down to get there. Everything else could have been up there as well. This is the best game I've played in years. Years and years and years. But it could have been the best game I'd ever played. Cry me a river of tears, I know.
Muffin, please. Muffin. Smash like and subscribe.
Dumb dog doesn't know how to subscribe.